Welcome back to Timeout with J and G. I am Jay over here, and it's G over there.
So what's going on, everyone?
And today we have a very special episode. We are still in the All-Star break. Nobody plays until tomorrow, one Thursday, when teams start playing again. So we had the All-Star break this past weekend. You know, the three-point shootout, the dunk contest, the three-point contest, and that three-point shootout between Sabrina Ionescu and Steph Curry. We had the All-Star game with Rising Stars. All that stuff happened in Indianapolis over the weekend. And we'll start out of a scale of 1 to 10. How would you rank All-Star Weekend?
5, 4.
Yeah,
The only redeeming quality was that shootout between Sabrina and Curry.
that was, I think, by far the best moment of the week. I think that was really the only memorable moment of the All-Star break. If I'm being real with you,
The only other memorable moment for me is how Jaylen Brown messed up the tribute to D Brown.
yeah,
I
dunk contest was rough.
It was, and the thing that got me was I know we were talking about it. How does Mac McClung get a 50 at the end for jumping over Shaq? But I think Toppin's little brother jumped over Shaq first round and got a 47.
The judges were awful.
Mm-hmm.
The judges were actually awful. The dunks, there was a couple. Mac McClung had some good dunks. I think he did deserve to win it. Jacob Toppin I think it should have been Jacob Toppin and Mac McClung in the final. I'm happy. I'm glad that Jaylen Brown participated, but I don't think he should have been in the final. His dunks were more showmanship. Like it was more about like what he was doing rather than the dunk itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I said, with the tribute, with the glove, it's like his was more about what he was doing, where some of these other guys like McClung, Toppin, they were throwing some real good dunks down.
Yeah, I feel like the D Brown tribute would have been a hell of a lot better if he jumps over Kai sitting in the chair. If he jumps over him, but instead of catching the lob, he just dribbles, jumps up, and as soon as he goes to jump, he covers his face.
That would have been better. Yeah, that would have been better.
Yeah, if he was going to do something like that.
I think when somebody jumps over Shaq, and then in the same dunk contest, you're jumping over Kai Cenat, who's like 5'3", but he's sitting down. It looks awful. It really looks awful.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But again, Jaylen Brown is probably the biggest name we've had in the dunk contest, like star-wise, since I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
it's been years since we've had like a legitimate star in the dunk contest, and I think half of it's like this is kind of the reason why is because he didn't do very well, and he was getting a shit ton of criticism online. So it's like these stars, they don't want to deal with that.
Well, I actually found out another thing. Now, there was no major article, like no major company published about it, but I seen like about 7, 8, 9 articles that apparently some of the NBA players want to get paid even more for playing in the All-Star game.
Well, I don't think they get paid at all. I think they just want to get paid to play in it.
But I mean, like, you get paid how much money for the season?
My thing is that I wouldn't mind if you get a little bonus for playing in the All-Star game. Wouldn't bother me if you were putting a good product on the floor for All-Star game.
Yeah.
If it was good competitive games, then I'd be like, yeah, okay, get some bonus for playing in it because you're in the All-Star game. But like the fact that it's such a terrible time, such a terrible game, why do I want to pay you if nobody wants to watch it?
Yeah, and the other thing is like incentivize like winning and playing defense or something like that. Like do something where it's just like, okay, if you win and hold the other team to under X amount of points, you get an incentive of this much money. Granted, I'm a believer that they are getting paid. Now we're not talking about like role bench players. We're talking about stars.
Yeah, the All-Stars they're the top in the game.
And they're getting paid a lot of money to do what they're doing.
Yep.
So to sit there and be like, well, I want more money to play in this game, it's kind of just like, well, you're already making X amount of million a season guaranteed.
Yeah.
Whether you play or not, whether you get injured. Nobody wants to get injured. I understand that. But whether you get injured or not, you got X amount of money guaranteed. You're pretty much set.
I remember like being young, like in the 2000s, watching the All-Star game, like towards the later part of 2000s when I really started locking into it. It seemed like back then and into the early 2010s, it was like the first half, the first 3 quarters we're just kind of like, we're messing around, we're having a good time. But then like second half, fourth quarter comes around where it's like, all right, you actually start to see a little bit more defense in the second half. It's like, okay, we actually do want to win this game. Now, I mean, they were just walking to the hoop and nobody was even putting a hand up. They were shooting multiple. Dave made 2 half-court shots. Lucas shot one from the opposite 3-point line. It's like if that's happening in the first and second quarter, you're like, all right, whatever. But in the third quarter, you see somebody actually kind of like get into a defensive stance and try. I think that's the best happy medium for it. It's like letting the guys kind of screw around and have some fun in the first half, and it's like in the second half, it's like, all right, guys, we actually do want to kind of win this game, so we're not going to put in like, I'm not going to be like Kawhi Leonard out there in my deep POI stance, like locking you up, but I'm going to at least put a hand in your face. I'm going to make a little bit of effort.
Yeah, just
because you're never going to get them to fully lock in. At the end of the day, the game doesn't really matter to them. Like, I'm not going to risk an injury, so you're not going to get them to like really lock in on defense. But at least like get in front of somebody. If he gets past you, you don't have to chase him down and try to block him. But it's like at least try to stay in front of him a little bit, make it kind of interesting.
Yeah, give a little bit of effort.
Because like those type of situations are like some of the best shots. Like you see all these Kyrie and Luka, these great players in the league. Some of their best highlights are shooting over people, making tough shots. Well, you don't see that in the All-Star game because they're not taking defense. They're not playing defense, so you're not seeing those tough shots that got them there into the All-Star game.
How many more years are we going to sit through this before they just can the entire event?
I don't think they will. I think they'll play around with the game before they do that. Actually, let me see if I can find that, because another part of it was Indianapolis. Apparently, from all the people that have been there, they were not happy with the city. Apparently the city just wasn't prepared for the All-Star game. There was like lack of Ubers for people to get around. There wasn't enough hotel rooms. There was just a lot of situations with the city itself that actually the NBA came out here, and now the NBA has city requirements for hosting the All-Star weekend.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like that should be like something where it's like, because when you have the All-Star game come in, even though it's not very good anymore, you're still going to have a lot of people show up.
It's a lot of revenue for a city. A city gets a lot of money just for having all those people there. So, as of right now, there's 3 requirements that Adam Silver came out with. The first one is you need to have 7,250 hotel rooms at a minimum of 3 5-star hotels. The second one is a convention center of at least 650,000 square feet of exhibition space. And the third one is 75 nonstop domestic flights and at least 20 international flights.
Wow.
So they're basically like, and from what I'm reading here in, let's see if I can find it here. We're reading in the comments was that there's a couple cities that don't meet that requirements right now, and people are saying OKC, Portland, Detroit, Milwaukee, Indiana, where it just was, Minnesota, Sacramento, Memphis, and Washington.
So pretty much all, I shouldn't say small market, but not the big name places.
Exactly. So, which
I mean, is fair, but it's also to the point where it's like, if you're, like, let's just say we're having the All-Star game in Minnesota, that's like the weekend for like shops and everything open in Minnesota to be having fully stocked, ready to go, because they're probably going to sell out and it'll be great revenue for the city. And I can understand not the hotel rooms, the Ubers and all that. It's just.
Well, I was listening to Numbers on a Board and Heliocentric podcast from Pierre. I listened to both of those podcasts and actually Kenny's podcast. They were talking about because they were there All-Star Weekend. They were saying there was multiple times where they were trying to go get something to eat, and the restaurants were shut down. They didn't have enough food. They tried to go to a sub shop, and they had to close it because they had no meats. And this was on Friday, and not even into Saturday and Sunday yet. So it seemed like the city of Indianapolis just wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah, that's understandable. And for the whole food things, is that you should be prepared. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But then when it comes to hotel rooms, you only have so many hotel rooms
100%.
That you can book. You know what I mean? You can't get past that. The hotel requirements, I mean, is understandable because of how many people are going to be there.
Yeah.
But it's like for Indiana, the hotel room, you can't just come up with hotel rooms with a snap of a finger.
Yeah. Why, if I'm the city of Indianapolis, why am I building 2 5-star hotels just because I'm going to hit the All-Star game in another 15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's no point to hotels, but for like every other aspect, like the Ubers, the food, everything like that. If you know the All-Star game is coming in, it should be like, all right, well, let's bring in extra everything
Yeah.
just to prepare. Or I
And
shouldn't say extra everything, but like
just be more prepared. Bring extra
yeah,
stock in before. Yeah, these restaurants should have like again. I guess like hindsight's always like 2020, but it's like you should be order if you know. Hey, I'm a block away from the arenas because the All Star Weekend was split up between where the Pacers play and then Lucas Oil Stadium
okay.
where the Colts play. But they're really close to each other, so everything was like all in a centralized area. If I'm a restaurant in that area, I'm ordering double, man. Whatever I usually order this many slabs of ham, I'm ordering double because we're gonna have all these people, and I'm right here with this. I'm right here at the stadiums. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's your perfect opportunity to get even more revenue
Mm-hmm.
and to get even more money for the, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know.
And another thing, well, real quick, then I'll let you get into it. What the other thing I've been hearing a lot was that the weather. Apparently, it was like super cold. It snowed, and people were upset because if you look at the past couple of years, All Star has been, and the All Stars in February, right? And it was in Indianapolis this year. Last year it was in Utah. The year before that it was in Cleveland, and the year before that it was in Chicago. That is 4 straight years of cold North cities in February.
Yeah,
Like if I'm trying to think of what's a player like if I'm Joel Embiid, obviously I'm not playing the All Star game because I'm hurt. But like if it's in Miami, I might still pull up because we're in Miami. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Why in the hell am I going to Utah if I'm not playing? Why am I going to Indianapolis if I'm not playing? Why am I? You know what I mean? Chicago is one of the other ones because it's such a big city that people are still going to pull up to Chicago.
Yeah.
But like Cleveland, Utah, Indiana, people aren't going to just pull up there if they're not playing because it's cold. It's not an attraction site. But if it's in LA, if it's in Miami, if it's in like Houston, San Antonio, places like this, people that are like not playing the All Star game might still pull up because it's like, oh, we're in a nice city, we're in a nice warm city.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I personally, I just can't get past the hotel thing because you're basically shitting on a city for not having more hotels when in normal demand and supply they don't need that many hotels.
I think it also depend on the team. Like a team like a city like Oklahoma, or not a city like Oklahoma, but like I don't even know. Do they play in Oklahoma City? I guess I don't know if that's even. But like, if you're going to be a really, really good, really competitive team for years to come, you might be able to rationalize building another hotel or two that
Yeah.
meets the requirements. But a team like a Detroit, dude, no, I'm not building two more 5-star hotels for the All Star game. We're not good. We're probably not going to get the All Star game. Who knows how long? So it's like there's some of those cities like even Sacramento. Sacramento's in California. I'm sure, and the Kings have been good now for 2 seasons. Like I'm sure in their eyes, you could be like, okay, maybe we only need one more 5-star hotel to meet the requirements. We can do that. We can push through one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But when you're a smaller city, it's just like, and the other thing that we got to figure is space.
Yeah.
Because you said they have to be within a certain amount of area. If they just don't have the space to build it, they can't actually do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it comes to money and space. They might have the money but not have the space, or they'll have the space but not have the money.
So, I mean, I think this kind of our broken glass moment of the week, I feel like for both of us, has pretty much just been the All Star weekend in general. The All Star game was awful. There was like 300 and some combined points in the game.
Yeah.
There was no defense. It was bad. Dame got MVP with 39. Cat had 50.
Don't lost.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't really have much to talk about with the game. It was I barely watched it. It was just not good.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it either, but I actually have a small thing to talk about.
Okay.
Something big happened in college basketball. I believe it was last night.
I'll let you take away because I'm not familiar.
Yeah, UConn was the number one seed, right? They're number one in the country. I think they got almost a unanimous amount of votes to be the number one team.
Or it's about men's or women's?
Men's.
Okay.
And they were pretty much like everyone was saying they're a lock for the one seed, number one overall in the tournament. Well, they lost by 20 to Creighton. ranked 15.
Mm.
They beat Creighton earlier in the year 62-48. Now they lost to Creighton 85-66.
Okay.
This is off of them beating Marquette, who was 4 at the time, ranked number 4, by almost 30. How do you lose that game to Creighton?
There's been, in the past 2 weeks, there's been at least 3 or 4 ranked teams that have went on the road to unranked teams and lost.
Yeah, Tennessee almost did that to Missouri, but they pulled back in the second half.
There's been a couple teams, and what was it? Indiana State was ranked for the first time since Larry Bird was there in 79?
79.
Was ranked for the first time at 23, went on the road, lost. Boom, right back at. Like, there's been multiple teams in the past couple weeks that have been ranked, went on the road, and lost. I'm going to be real with you, man. I've never really dove much into men's college basketball, but I feel like this year, and maybe this year and last year, there's nobody in men's college basketball that makes me really want to watch it. We don't have that Zion type star. You know what I mean? We don't have that guy that's like, oh yeah, this is a guy you need to tune into. Like, men's college basketball, I think, is in a pretty rough place right now.
I mean, the only real big star right now is Zach Edey, and mainly because he's like 7'4", and they are also another top team that went on the road and lost. They lost to Ohio State. But the other thing is just like, that's another reason why women's college basketball is actually on the rise, is because you know the names of Caitlin Clark, Paige Buckers, Angela Reese.
And that freshman that just dropped, Juju Watkins, she just dropped, what was that, 40 or 50 a couple weeks ago? Like, that's what I was going to, like, women's right now, women's basketball in general right now is really starting to gain a lot of traction between college, now this Sabrina, Steph Curry thing. Like, I mean, which is, I really think it's great that women's basketball is really starting to, in the past couple of weeks, get a lot of push.
Yeah, I love it too, and that brings the whole thing is like, with women, you have them for like 3 to 4 years, and they're getting better and better and better every year. With the men, it's just like most of the top talent coming in are one and done.
Yep.
One and done because they want to get to the league, or they just don't even go into college, and they go to the G League Ignite.
Yep.
And so it's also hurting men's basketball because it's just like, well, you're not staying for more than 1 year. Granted, some of these guys are really, really good, but it's also the point where it's just like we're not building anything for college basketball, because people often forget that the NCAA at college men's basketball was bigger than the NBA for a little bit, for a while, and then the NBA, once Bird, Magic came in, then Jordan, and then it switched.
Right. Now, here's a question for you, because I know this name because he's very popular, but I think he's still a senior in high school. Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg, he's going to be a one and done. I believe he's committed to Duke.
Okay.
And
yeah, I see a few things about him. I know he's a huge name, but I don't know much about him.
I think he's like a 6'6" shooting guard or small forward or something like that.
Do you think he's one of those, like, and I'm going to say no, because there's some players that I've known right out of high school, because like Zion's a perfect example, like somebody you've known since his sophomore year of high school because he was just that good. Is he going to be kind of similar to one of those players, or do you think he's just not quite there? As of gravity of, like, it's going to get people to watch college basketball because of his name. It
might. I mean, it's hard to say because, like, Zion was one of one.
Yeah, for sure.
The dude was like 6'7", close to 300 pounds, and still pulling off these athletic windmill dunks.
Yeah,
360 dunks.
He's sending shots, sending fucking blocks into like the fifth row.
Yeah, it was just unprecedented what he was doing. Now, could Cooper Flagg bring it back? Maybe, but I feel like it's going to have to be like a collect effort.
So, okay. So you're saying he's not going to be on that. I mean, obviously we don't know for sure, but you don't think he's going to be on that same, like, presence as Zion was?
Maybe tapping his toe in, or maybe getting a foot in, but I don't think he's going to be able to fit that exact mold.
Right.
You know, he might get some people to turn their head to it and be like, "Ooh, what's this?" or bring people back into it. But then again, once March Madness hits, it's March Madness. A lot of people are going to fill out brackets. A lot of people are going to watch it just because it's happening.
Yeah. Actually, I know we're not at that point yet, but actually, the names Super Bowl and March Madness are like trademarked to where like we can actually get in trouble for saying that if we're not directly like putting an ad out for them. Do you know that?
Really, I did not.
Yep. So obviously, like at this point, we're not there, but like in the future, how much we grow, you have to kind of, unless we're doing something for them, we have to be careful with how like we can't say the name March Madness in promotional for ourselves because it's the NCAA's trademark. They can, I mean, not saying they would, but they could technically come after us for that.
That's actually kind of wild. I
mean, and it's the same way with the Super Bowl. Like you see a lot of times, like radio shows, if they're doing promos, that's why a lot of times on TV you see promos for like Pizza Hut and it says the big game. They don't say the Super Bowl because they're promoting themselves for the Super Bowl, so they can't use the Super Bowl name. That's why you see the big game used a lot on TV.
So, the college basketball championship tournament.
the after February frenzy.
There we go. There we go. The after February frenzy. The
Fantastic. AFF. Okay, I'm down for that.
The AFF.
But yeah, no, I think we'll get into Saturday night. Saturday night, and this is the really thing I just want to talk about before we got into our main part of the episode. Between the dunk we kind of talked about the dunk contest already. Mac McClung won. Shout out to him. But I want to talk about the 3-point contest and the 3-point shootout. So Dame won. There was like a 4-way tie in the first round with 26.
Yep.
And then Dame ended up winning with 29. Or no, 26 again.
Yeah, it was 26 because Sabrina actually out-tied the highest.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
pretty. If you would have told me 10 years ago that the 3-point contest would have been more exciting than a dunk contest, I would have said no way. But it's gotten to the 3-point contest is actually getting really exciting to watch.
Oh, it is, especially for me because I like watching the big men. The big men shooting threes is like when Marketing got up there, I was hoping he was going to hit that last one to get in. Yeah. Seeing Cat out there dueling, it's just great to watch.
Yeah, no, I picked Tyrese Halliburton. I'm pretty sure I don't even remember. I think I picked Halliburton, but I said I wouldn't be surprised if Dame won again, which he did.
You went Halliburton and I went Marketing.
Mm-hmm. But so shout out to Dame, 2-time winner. The shootout between Sabrina and Steph, right? I think that was pretty much the main attraction for everything. I think that was the only really part of All-Star Weekend I was looking forward to. And it didn't disappoint. Honestly, God, Sabrina is a fantastic shooter, one of the best, if not the best shooter in WNBA. But I was worried that, not saying that pressure would have got to her, but like she just would have came out and like underperformed and would have got laughed at. Like she comes out, drops 10, and it's like, look at the WNBA player. But even though she lost, she still dropped 26 points.
Yeah, and I mean, props to her for stepping back and shooting from the NBA line.
Mm-hmm. I see people online. I've seen people online since then be like, "Oh, she should have shot with an NBA ball," and I'm like, "Okay, now why are we only catering to Steph now? It's like she's already shooting from the NBA line, so why should she have to shoot from the NBA ball? But Curry gets to do everything normal." You know what I mean?
That's a very, very muddy area.
I think this was like probably the most even it could have been. Mm-hmm. All right, we're shooting from the same spot. You're using the NBA ball you've used your entire life. I'm using the WNBA ball I've used my entire life. I feel like this was the most fair it could have been.
Yeah, because I mean, she was basically just taking 3 feet back.
I don't even know if it's that far.
Or 2 feet or something like that, or
I'll look it up while you
1 to
fill
3,
it out.
1 to 2.5 feet. I mean, even then, I'm pretty sure she's hitting them from even farther deeper than that.
Oh, she is. Yeah, in games, she's shooting deep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not really that big. And I just, people just go, oh, well, why didn't she use an NBA ball? Why should she? Why should she?
Okay, so the NBA 3-point line is 23 feet, 9 inches. WNBA is 22, 1.75. So about a foot and 8 inches.
About a foot. So, yeah. That's a pretty.
If you look at it, that's a pretty decent distance. So I mean, the fact, like I said, I felt this was the most even it could have been. Was her being like, all right, I'll shoot from the NBA line, just using my ball, and the width of the ball are not that far apart. The WNBA ball is smaller, and I've been like, oh, people have been like, oh, the ball's smaller, so it's easier for it to go in the hoop. It's like an inch. I mean, sure. I mean, I guess that does make a difference, but it's not like it's a whole huge difference of a ball.
Yeah, I don't know. People are always gonna find a way to complain about it.
Yeah,
No
people.
matter how you
That's what I
slice
don't.
it.
I just legitimately. I know people make jokes about it, but I legitimately think a lot of people on Twitter just don't like women, and the fact that did good, they had to find some excuse to kind of like put it down.
Yeah, Lord knows if she would have won.
If she would have won, it would have been like, oh, Curry wasn't trying. Oh, Curry let her win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there would have been no actual like,
Yeah,
hey, she actually did good. Props to her. It would have
yeah.
just been trying to say, oh well, Steph threw.
Because literally every single time I saw the post, somebody would comment, be like, "Shout out Sabrina, she put up a really good fight." And the first comment under that would be, "Nope, she didn't use the NBA ball. Nope, yeah, blah blah blah, blah blah blah." It's like, dude, come on, like we
Okay, well,
you don't need to be filled with hate, man. You can be like, okay, Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time. He won, but Sabrina put up a damn good fight. That's literally as easy as it could have been. To just put it out like that.
yeah, well, and the whole other thing is everyone's saying about the ball. People, well, the other thing to that about the ball is a NBA ball weighs more than a WNBA ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to factor in that where you're shooting from for the arc, how much power you got to put on it. Curry, if we would have swapped it and moved Curry in and give him a WNBA ball, I mean, I feel like then it goes into Sabrina's court.
Yeah, like he would
Because you're
have.
small, because the ball gets smaller, you get closer, and people say, "Oh, well, it's easier." Sometimes it's not. There have
It's
been
different.
there have been numerous people. Let's just put it in NBA terms that can shoot the lights out from three, but as soon as they step into the mid range, they can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like, because obviously Steph Curry's, like I said, the greatest shooter of all time. So if he would have shot from the WNBA line with the WNBA ball, he would have figured it out, right?
Yeah.
But the first rack or two might have been rough.
Oh
And then
yeah.
by the time he got to the third rack, he's like, okay, I'm good now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that two bad racks is all it takes to lose a contest.
Yeah. It is. It is.
So like I really like, obviously Steph Curry won. Shout out to Steph Curry, it was like best of all time. But like I really think a lot more people need to be paying attention to Sabrina. She did fantastic. Now, I mean, I kind of hope this kind of thing becomes a regular part of All-Star Weekend. Maybe not like Curry and Sabrina every year, but like you have Caitlin Clark coming out. Like I've been seeing people talk about what if next year they have Curry and Sabrina team up and do a 2v2 3-point shoot, like 2v2 3-point shootout, with it being Curry and Sabrina against Damon, Caitlin Clark.
Well,
I'm like, that sounds fucking awesome.
there was something that Sabrina hinted at and said she might need help bringing down Curry.
Okay.
So it could be a 2-on-2, Curry and somebody else versus Sabrina and somebody else. You know what I mean?
It's probably gonna be Caitlin Clark, Sabrina and Caitlin Clark, just because of she's such a big name coming out.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be like Curry. I think if they have something along those lines every All-Star break, I would definitely look forward to it.
Oh yeah. All right, now on to the next thing we want to talk about, the second half of the NBA season. And speaking of that, a report came out today at 4:55 p.m. New York's Knicks All-Star forward Julius Randle said Wednesday he's progressing in his recovery from a dislocated right shoulder, but he doesn't rule out season-ending injury.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Has there been any updates with OG Anunoby?
I don't believe so.
He should be coming back probably after this All-Star break, maybe like another week or so. I'll look up here.
But yeah, that's very interesting because he's progressing with it, so I guess that's going good. But it's just like if he has season-ending surgery, how much does that impact it?
I'm also seeing here that Anunoby's yet to be medically cleared too to practice. So that's rough for both of them. Oh man.
It's rough for the Knicks, even though Jalen Brunson is playing out of his mind.
Yeah, can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, I was looking at what'd you say?
How much if Randall does get the season-ending injury, season-ending surgery, how much do you think it impacts the Knicks in the long run?
A lot. He's their second best player. you need more than one guy to take you through a playoff series. We saw that. I mean, Jalen Brunson's fantastic. He's really, I think he's taken over being their number one guy. But their Knicks are a team that are built. Jalen Brunson's your number one guy, but he's not a superstar. They're a team built with a lot of good players,
Yeah.
right? Between Brunson, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, like they those three guys are kind of their core of like these are our stars. Like they might not be like Jalen Brunson's a star, but the other three guys they're like stars in their role. They're stars at what they do. Dante DiVincenzo, you know what I mean? Like I think Julius Randle is their second best player. So obviously losing that, I think it genuinely hurts you a lot going towards the playoffs.
It does. It does. And it's interesting to see, especially when they finish out the season, because right now they're on a 4-game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
And right now they're 5-5. And they're only about half a game in front of the 76ers, and they're a game and a half back of the Bucks.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting for the back end of the season.
Yeah. So, as Levi hinted, we have kind of our predictions for the second half of the season, and what we're going to do here is, so right now, as we know, the playoffs are the 1 through 10 seed, 7, 8, 9, 10 playing the play-in, and then blah blah blah, 1 through 6 are safe. So what we did was we both made our brackets of how we think the season's going to like what we think the standings is going to look like at the end of the season, 1 through 10 for each conference, right? So I think. Do you want to start on the East or West? And we'll kind of just go through 1 through 8. Well, let's start.
I was going to say, you want to start in the West?
We can start in the West, and let's start 10. We'll go from 10 up to 1.
All right. Who's your 10?
My 10 is the Golden State Warriors. I think they're going to float around. They're the 10 seed right now, and I think that's pretty much where they're going to float around. They've been playing much better as of late. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Let's see, Western Conference. There we go. They've been playing better as of late. I mean, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're kind of picking it back up, but I just think they're 3 games behind the Lakers for the 9 seed, or about 2.5 games. But like, I don't see any of the teams above them struggling enough where the Warriors can jump them. If that does that make sense? Like, I think the Warriors are going to be better in the second half than they were in the first half, but nobody ahead of them is going to fall off enough where they can jump anybody.
Yeah. Because I mean the Lakers are in front of them, but they're still, I think,
they've been 7-3 in their last 10. So it's like both these teams are kind of starting to pick up. And I mean, we'll get into that. But what's your 10 seed?
I got Golden State too. I don't think the Jazz are going to be able to jump up. I don't think the Jazz Rockets are going to be able to get up enough. And I think the Lakers, Kings, Mavs are going to keep that gap. And how the Warriors are playing right now, I don't think they make an astronomical jump from like 10 to 8 or 10 to 6.
Yeah.
Because that would require like everyone in front of them losing like 6 games or X amount of games, and Golden State just going on a tear. Granted, Curry could engineer that, but still, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and so that leads me to my 9. I have the Lakers staying at 9, and that's kind of what I was starting to say there with the Warriors, that like the Lakers as well have been picking it up as recent. They're 7-3 in the last 10. And we look at the Lakers last season in the second half after the trade deadline. Obviously, they made a lot of trades at that trade deadline and none this year. But they were a much better team in the second half of the season than they were in the first half of the season. And I think them now gearing up on this run before All-Star break, I think this is pretty much the same thing that I said with the Warriors, is that they might sneak up and take the 8 seed, maybe the 7 seed, depending on how the Mavericks play, because it's only about 1 to 2 games difference there.
Yeah.
But the Kings and Mavericks are good teams with great players. It's like I think the Lakers are gonna. I think we're gonna get a Lakers Warriors playing game. So I think that's gonna be fantastic.
My number 9 is the Mavs.
Okay, you haven't fallen from 6 to 9.
Yes, it's 7 to 9.
Yes, you are right. Sorry, I can't read.
You're fine. I think the Kings are going to get into a hot streak here soon.
Okay.
And they're going to start playing really good ball. I think I don't know. I think the Mavs are going to get into a little bit of a. They're not going to get better, but they're not going to get worse. They're kind of just going to stay the path they're at. And I think the Kings and the Lakers are going to get on a hot streak, and they're going to end up jumping them.
I mean, yeah, that's all it takes. It teams below them to get on a hot streak. I mean, the Mavs are 7-3 in their last 10 as well. But yeah, like I said, all it takes is them to go 5-5 over the next 10, and boom, they could drop down to the 9 seed. That's how close it is.
Anything can happen any given week.
So my 8th seed, I have the Pelicans dropping from the 6th to the 8th seed. I Dyson Daniels is out for quite a while with his injury. I just don't really like this Pelicans team. I don't know how else to word it. Like, they have Zion, they have Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. It's like they have a lot of good players, but it's almost like this saying, in the football saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. And I think that's kind of the way it is with the Pelicans right now, is they have so many good pieces that they're not finding a way to really stand out.
Yeah, I got you.
And I just think a team like the Kings, I kind of agree with you that I think the Kings are going to kind of have a bit of a hot streak. And same with the Mavs. Luka, Kyrie, PJ Washington's been pretty good for them. You have Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. Like, I think the Mavericks are really all in on making the playoffs. So I think, I think the Pelicans are the odd team out that's going to fall to 8.
Yeah, I have the Pelicans 2 at 8.
Okay.
Me personally, I think they should have traded for DeJounte Murray.
That would be cool.
Whether that means giving up Brandon Ingram or using picks or, you know what I mean, just doing something, I feel like they should have at least tried to acquire him.
Yeah.
Because then that gives you a true point guard. And I know McCollum's been trying to fill that role, but I feel like if you would have brought in a true number 1 point guard, because McCollum did play a lot of 2 guard with Damian Lillard, I feel like that would have elevated this offense even more.
Yeah. So at the 7th seed, that's where I have the Kings. I have the Kings just making 1 spot up, just because I think teams like the Timberwolves, Thunder, Clippers, Nuggets, and Suns, I feel like those guys are almost locked into the top 5 seeds. I don't think I think the Kings are anywhere between 6 and 8. Really, realistically, I think that's really their ceiling right now. Maybe they can take over the Suns. It's really only 2 games, but like, I don't know. I just kind of trust the Suns team more right now than I do this Kings team, and that's what it is. Sabonis has been fantastic this season. They need De'Aaron Fox to kind of lock back in. It's been kind of rough. I think it's part of the reason they make an All-Star game. Ever since like the turn of the calendar year, it's been kind of rough for him. So I think they're going to be better, but I just don't. They're going to be better than they started the season, but I don't think there's any way they jump into the top 5.
Yeah, I can see that. So we're at 7.
Yes.
7. All right. At 7, I have the Lakers.
Okay. I'd like to hear that.
I think they're gonna, like I said, I think they're gonna get hot. I feel like D'Lo is gonna be more efficient from the field. LeBron's gonna do what LeBron does, and I think Anthony Davis is gonna play like a madman this back half of the season.
Okay.
And I feel like the role players are just gonna do their thing. I feel like the Lakers are gonna get the wheels turning even more, and they're gonna get into a groove, and they're gonna jump up to the 7th seed and then host the first play-in game.
I like it. At the 6, I have this is where I have the Mavericks. I have the Mavericks just moving up 1 from the 7 into the 6. Kind of similar to my reasoning for the Kings, is that, like I said earlier, I think Luka, Kyrie, with their new additions like PJ, Daniel, I think they're going to be enough to help maintain where they are, but they're not better than any of the top 5 seeds right now. So I just think, like I said, between like the Pelicans, Mavericks, and Kings, they're all just kind of stuck between 6 and 9.
Yeah, I can see that. The Kings are really hurt by De'Aaron Fox not playing like his normal self. The Mavs just don't have that third person, let's be honest. Acquiring Gafford has been really well for them, but when the ball is majorly in the hands of Luka and or Kyrie, there's not a whole lot offensively that you can do other than just be ready to shoot.
Plus, it's not like you want to be giving the ball down to Daniel Gafford on a regular anyway.
Yeah, that is true. It's just, I don't know.
So at the 5 here, I actually have the Suns just sticking at 5. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and I don't know. They acquired Royce O'Neal at the trade deadline. Like their depth has definitely improved, but they still lack front court play. They still lack a real center. They don't really have a true point guard either. And obviously, you have Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant. So you're going to be good. But I just kind of – these 4 teams above them are way more, I think, I don't know if established is the word I want to use, but it's like the 4 teams above them have well more like fleshed out rosters to where you're not solely relying on your big 3.
Yeah, that's also why I have the Suns actually going down to the 6.
Okay.
Because of that exact reason. Their roster isn't fleshed out. You're pretty much relying on your big 3 to do everything. Now we've seen in the past that can work, but I just don't think it's going to work out towards the end of the season when the real grind starts, and you need it like every game. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think they're going to fall too far. I think they're just going to fall 1 seed down.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize. I must have went back to back. I didn't realize that. So I guess give your 5.
My 5 is actually the Kings.
Okay. I like that.
Like I said, I think me personally, I think Sabonis is gonna play even more out of his mind than he already is. I think for the next back half of the season, he's gonna be averaging like 25 points, 13 and a half rebounds, and like 9 assists. Like,
do you have him being a top? Well, okay. Do you have him being a top 3 center for the second half of the season, especially with Joel Embiid being out?
Top 3.
I agree. I think you would be Jokic, AD, and then Sabonis.
Yep. I just think he's gonna play out of his mind, and then De'Aaron Fox is pretty much just gonna have to do what he needs to do for them to be successful. And I feel like they're gonna, like I said, hit a hot streak, and I feel like they're gonna jump from 8 to 5.
All right. Well, here at 4 is where I have my first maybe surprise. I'm definitely gonna be surprised, but I think my rationale. I mean, people still aren't gonna like it. At number 4, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves dropping from the 1 seed to the 4 seed.
Ooh.
Right. Okay. So listen, they got Monte Morris, right? This team is just, I don't know how I feel with them. They're a good team, 100%, but they don't feel serious sometimes, if that makes sense. You watch this, their offense can get really, really bad in crunch time. We saw that Cat game where he had 60. Like,
yep,
they can go multiple minutes in a row in the fourth quarter without scoring a single bucket, and that's just not good. You don't need me to tell you that. That's not good. And it's like they're a fantastic defensive team with Rudy Gobert down there anchoring your defense. You have Jaden McDaniel. Like, you have good defenders. Kyle Anderson hasn't been very good this year. I'm surprised he wasn't moved at the deadline, but I don't think anybody would have wanted him. I just bringing Monte Morris in helps with their point guard minutes when Mike Conley's not on the floor because Mike Conley's been injured. But it's like there's too many holes on this team right now that, like, I don't think at this moment Anthony Edwards is just fantastic. I love Anthony Edwards. I think he's fantastic, but I don't think he's at the point yet in his career, being only 22 years old, 23 years old, where he's gonna carry this team yet. I think he still needs a couple more years to fully develop his shot IQ, his passing. Like, I think he's fantastic. Please don't take that the wrong way. Like, I think he's fantastic, but I think they're gonna. Oh, sorry, my TV was talking to me. They're just. I think they're the team that is most likely to kind of not struggle in the second half, but kind of have a bit of a dip.
I can see that. Also, shout out to Mike Conley. I believe, sometime last week or this week, he signed a 2-year, $22 million extension.
Oh, yes, he did. You're right. Yeah, shout out to Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley's a good point guard for him. It's just his health's been kind of a question mark.
Yeah. And also throwback to when he was still with the Memphis, and he got when he got one of the top contracts, because it was like, someone's gonna pay him. Why not be us? So shout out to him. He's always been getting the bag. Stay chasing. At my 4, this is a little bit of maybe a little bit of a surprise, but I have the Clippers falling down 1.
Okay. We're gonna have something there. Okay.
I do have the Clippers falling down. I don't know. It's just something about it, and it's not really anything to discount the Clippers, but more to promote the Nuggets, because I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But I just feel like the Clippers are not that they're gonna play bad, but I just feel like the Nuggets are gonna play better. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, at my 3, that's where I have the Denver Nuggets. I have them going from 4 to 3. They're 5-5 in their last 10. I think now that we're in the back half of the season, I think you're going to see them start to I don't know if take it more serious is the right way, but I think you're going to see that they're going to try to lock in. I think they want to be one of these top 2 seeds. I don't know if they're going to get there. I don't have them getting there, but I think I think this Nuggets team is kind of turning into like what the Cavs were with LeBron, where it's like we're just going to kind of push through kind of coast through the regular season and just like make sure we get into the playoffs as a decently high seed, and then we get into the playoffs. Then we're going to turn it up. Then we're going to like okay, I think this Nuggets team has the potential to be the best team in the West, but they aren't taking the regular season as serious right now because they're ready for the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that. This Nuggets team is gonna be a juggernaut for the next like 4 or 5 years.
I mean, yeah, because you look at Jamal Murray, KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Jokic. I think they have the best front 5 in the league. Their bench like they lost Bruce Brown, they lost a couple of people on their bench, but I think they have the most their front 5 just fits so well together that they're the best run front 5. I think.
Oh yeah. That I feel it's arguable, but I see where you're coming from, and I kind of agree with you with that. I feel like they've played the last 2 years together.
Yes, 2-3 seasons. Yep,
2-3, and I feel like they're getting to the point to where like if Jokic wants Gordon to cut down a lob, all he has to do is basically just look at him a certain way, and Gordon knows or something like that.
Everybody knows their role so well.
Yes,
it's Jamal Murray knows he's out there to score first and then just make some passes. KCP knows he's out there to hit some shots to defend. Michael Porter Jr. knows anytime that ball gets swung to him, he can pull the shot. Aaron Gordon is just literally like glue. You want me to defend? You want me to hit a shot? You want me to cut? You want me to do? And then Jokic obviously is the best center in the league. You know what I mean? So I just think talent-wise, it might not be the best, but I think they like I said, they just work so well. They're such a well-run front 5 that they're perfect for each other.
Alrighty, at my 3, I have the Timberwolves.
Okay.
I think
so. We both have them dropping a little bit.
Yep. I think they're gonna drop. I think they're gonna still win enough to stay above the Clippers, but they're gonna lose enough to where the Nuggets and the OKC surpass them.
Okay. So my 2 seed, I have the Thunder staying at the 2 seed. I think Shea's an MVP candidate. Chet Holmgren has kind of plateaued a bit. He's not as serious in the Rookie of the Year race as he was to start the year, but he's still been great. Like he hasn't been worse. He's just been good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Jalen Williams has been fantastic. We'll see how Gordon Hayward kind of fits into that team. I'm curious to see how he fits into that team. I just think they're rolling right now, and I trust this OKC team more than I do the Timberwolves. So that's why I think they can hold their position.
Yeah, I can see that. OKC, it's a very young team too. Very young team. Very young team. They're going to be competitive for the next 10 years as long as they can keep that core together. For my 2 seed, I have the Nuggets.
Okay.
Like I said, they're just gonna get tuned up, ready for the playoffs, and they're just gonna go on a run. And we're basically the last 20 games of the season. You're gonna basically see playoff Nugget basketball. Jokic is gonna be playing even more out of his mind. Michael Porter Jr., no assist man, he's gonna go crazy. They're just gonna play. It's gonna be like playoff LeBron or playoff run. They're just gonna be gearing up, ready to go. So when they hit the playoffs, it's gonna be at a full speed.
Yeah, I agree. So that leaves the 1 seed, which leaves the Los Angeles Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to jump from the 3 to the 1. I think right now they're playing as the second best team in the league and the best in the West. Really, they're a veteran team that are deep. I mean, you got Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Zubac, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Russell Westbrook. You just have a team that these guys have all been in the playoffs. They're all ready for that atmosphere. And I think these guys are all hungry, right? Because Kawhi has a ring, Norman Powell has a ring, but a lot of these guys don't. PG doesn't have a ring. James Harden doesn't have a ring. Russell Westbrook doesn't have. These guys are hungry for a ring right now. This is their best opportunity. And I think they're the most steady team outside of the Nuggets. I think they're the most steady team where it's like you have no idea who's going to get you, right? You could have a night where James Harden drops 30 points, and then the next night Paul George is dropping 35. Oh, there's Kawhi dropping another 30. It's like they have such a team full of weapons, but they work so well together, kind of like the Nuggets. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think they're
Yeah.
as fluid as the Nuggets, but it's like I was curious how James Harden was going to fit in with this team. It's been fantastic. James Harden has really taken on the role of being the primary playmaker, but still getting he's still James Harden. Like he's gonna get his step back. He's gonna take his step back three. He's gonna hit him. He's gonna get to the foul line. Like he's still being as aggressive, but he's really taken on that primary ball handler role, playmaking role. And it's let Kawhi lock in more on defense. It's let Paul George lock in more on defense. And this team is just, I mean, Russell Westbrook has really, really bought into the bench role and been fantastic. It's just, I think they're the deepest team in the West with like just as like, you know, they have like 9 guys, 8 to 9 guys. And I'm like, yeah, I can trust you out there on the playoff floor.
Yeah, I can. I can't argue with that. I really can't. They're probably one of, if not the deepest team in the NBA.
Yeah, I think so.
And I mean, there's not much else I can really say. I can't contradict anything you're saying because it's all true.
Mm-hmm.
Now for my 1 seed, I have OKC. I feel like they're young, they're hungry, they're gonna get the 1 seed, but I don't think they make it out of the second round.
Really? Okay. You think they're gonna have like a Memphis Grizzlies run from a couple years ago where they were the 2 seed, just couldn't quite in the playoffs.
Yep,
they're so young.
They're gonna win first round.
Cool.
Which I'm gonna predict is gonna be Golden State. I think they're gonna beat Golden State first round, and then they're gonna lose in the second round to the Clippers.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, an OKC Clippers matchup would be really nice. Actually, you got the Paul George, the Shea going against their former teams. I like that. It'd be a good series.
All right.
Well, let's jump over here to the Eastern Conference. Now, I'm gonna be real with you, man. These bottom 3 teams, we can probably just jump through real quickly because I don't think we need to talk because these bottom teams, I don't think are going to make much noise. So if we just want to bop through these play-in teams real quick, and then we'll get into the real ones. My 10th seed, I have the Bulls. They're not good, but nobody below them. Like I think the Hawks are going to take over the 9 seed from the Bulls. But the Nets aren't going to make it anywhere. They just fired their coach. The Raptors, the Hornets, the Wizards, the Pistons. Like the Bulls are going to get in because everybody below them is just so bad.
Yeah,
I think that's really just what it is.
And then the organization going to be, oh well, look, we made the play, and we're
let's sign DeMar DeRozan to a 4-year deal where he's 38 years old.
We probably have 9 and 10 the exact same, anyways.
I have the Hawks at 9 and the Bulls at 10.
Same here.
Yeah, I just think those teams are kind of.
They're met.
I mean, the Magic have been playing pretty decent recently too. So I don't know. I have the Magic staying at the 8 seed.
I have the 76ers falling to the 8 seed.
Okay, I have them falling to the 7 seed. But we'll talk about the Magic real quick.
Go for it.
Or no, I don't really have much to say about the Mavericks or the Magic. They started the season really hot, then they kind of got back down to reality. I'm surprised they didn't go out to get a real true point guard at the trade deadline. I think if they would have got a point guard at the trade deadline, they might have got out of the play. I think they could have maybe jumped to the 6th seed with the 76ers kind of falling, but they really didn't address any needs at all. So I think they were just taking it as a developmental year. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to make the play-in. We'll see if we can make some noise, but it is what it is. So I think the 8 seed is where they're going to be.
I have the 76ers. They lost Embiid.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason I had them at the 7. Yeah,
that team's not going to be the same without Embiid. I think they fall. And they fall to the 8 seed. Tyrese Maxey's been playing out of his mind, but it's not the same team without Embiid.
It's not. And between the 8 seed, it's 2.5 games between the 76ers and the Magic at the 8 seed. So, they could very realistically do that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I trust, Tyrese Maxey, I trust to be good. Buddy Hield, Tobias, I think they have enough decent players to kind of stay afloat. But, yeah, the 7-8 seed is probably where they're going to end up anyway. They're almost guaranteed to probably fall into the play-in.
Yeah.
I had the 76ers at the 7 seed. We just talked about them. Who'd you have as your 7 seed?
I got the Heat.
Okay.
I think they're pretty much just going to stay where they're at. I don't think they really got any better, but they didn't get any worse. I think they're just gonna kind of just meh through the rest of the regular season.
I have them. At the 6th seed, I have the Heat. I think literally just because the 76ers fall out of the seed, that the Heat just kind of move up one.
Yeah.
Same with the Pacers at 6. I have them move up to 5. I think it's just like the 76ers fall out, so those teams below them just kind of bump up one spot.
Yeah, I have the Magic at 6.
Oh, okay.
Like I
Okay,
said,
I like that.
I think the Heat are just gonna just kind of just stay in their lane the rest of the season. I don't think they're gonna go up or down too much. They're gonna stay at the 7, and I think the Magic are gonna jump them and get the 6.
I think the Heat fall into that category I mentioned with the Denver Nuggets, just not quite as good. Where it's like we're like, okay, as the Heat, we're like, okay, as long as we make it into the playoffs, we fully believe we can lock in and win. I mean, and you can't really blame them. They went to the finals as the 8th seed last year. Like, I guess in the Heat's mind, they're like, you know, as long as we're in the playoffs, we have a chance. So yeah, I don't think they take it very seriously either. So I have them at the 6th seed. Like I said, just because I think the 76ers are going to fall out, but I don't think the Heat overtake the Pacers.
Yeah, I don't. So my 6 was the Magic. Then my 5, I have the Pacers.
I have the Pacers at 5 as well.
And then at 4, I have the Knicks.
I have the Knicks at 4 as well. I was really trying to see if I could get the Knicks into the top 3, but I couldn't do it.
I don't see them jumping to the top 3, and I also like the atmosphere of a 4-5 matchup of an old Knicks Pacers rivalry.
See now, especially now that you mentioned about the OG thing and the Julius Randle thing, you're like, yeah, I don't think I couldn't put him in the top 3 now. So it might be well warranted that they're at 4.
Yep. Yeah, I have them at 4. I think they're just gonna stay there. I don't think any team's gonna jump them, but I don't think they're gonna be good enough for going a crazy run to jump Milwaukee or the Cavs.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of, like I said earlier, we're kind of blowing through these lower teams, but it's just like in the Eastern Conference, I think there's only like 2, maybe 3 serious contenders. Where like the West has a lot more contenders. So
yeah,
we don't really mean to, like, we're not trying to disrespect any of these teams on the East, but it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see the 76ers or the Pacers as maybe the Knicks are, if they can get Julius Randle and OG Anunoby back, the Knicks could be an outside contender. But it's like a lot of teams, they're not going to be contenders, so you're not going to spend a lot of time on them. So we both went ahead 4. At 3, this is where I have the Cavaliers. I have them dropping from the 2 to the 3 seed.
Are you reading my mind?
Is that what you did too?
Yeah, I have the Cavs dropping to the 3 seed. I think Giannis is just going to play out of it. I think the Cavs are still going to be good, obviously. But I just think Giannis is going to get to that point where he goes, I want the 2 seed. I don't want the 3 seed. I want the 2 seed.
And I think the Bucks are just the better team.
Yeah.
The Cavs went on this insane 17-2 streak, which is fantastic. But I think it kind of catapulted them into a tier above where they really are. I think they're in the same tier with the Knicks and the Pacers. I think the Knicks, I think it's like the Celtics, Bucks, Knicks, Cavs, and not including this guy, because the 76ers would probably be in that tier too. But it's like, I just think them being the 2 seed is like, you know what I mean? I don't think they're quite there yet.
Yeah.
So but I mean, still being 3 is nothing wrong with being the 3 seed.
Yeah, I mean, and then Bucks at 2.
Bucks at 2. I just think between Damian Lillard, Giannis, you have the talent. They're only a game behind, a game and a half. They're 2 games behind the Cavs. Doc Rivers has been 3-7, but you gave them this All-Star break, because I didn't even realize, and until I heard it I was listening to the numbers on the board. On Saturday at the All-Star break, they had Kendrick Perkins on there for an interview, which actually genuinely surprised me. It was a fantastic interview. We know how Kendrick is on TV, but you could tell he kind of plays it up on TV, because he was on this podcast. He was like, it was actual genuine. Like, it was. If you haven't looked at that podcast, I definitely would if I was you. It's a shorter one. It's only 40 minutes, but Kendrick Perkins was fantastic as a guest, and he was mentioning they signed Doc Rivers when they were on a road trip. So he was coaching games out of a suitcase out of a hotel. Like, he hadn't even been to Milwaukee yet, hadn't seen his office, you know what I mean? Like, he got thrown in on a road trip to coach his team.
Yeah.
Now you give him an all-star break. They get home. They kind of get some shit lined up. I think you're gonna. I'm not saying they're gonna be like, boom, like 9-1 in the next 10 games, but you're gonna see a much better version of this team after the all-star break.
Yeah, I mean, regular season Doc Rivers is a great coach, but playoff time, that's something else. And
I'll be fair though to Doc Rivers. He's lost a lot of game sevens. We've lost a lot. We all knew that. But there's two sides to it. Game sevens, your superstars are supposed to take over game seven. Like, as a coach, what can you really do? By game seven, what adjustments are you going to make by game seven? You know what I mean? You guys played each other 6 times now. You know what you're doing. You just need your superstars to go and win. You know what I mean? And it's kind of Joel Embiid and James Harden didn't do that multiple times. You know, the Clippers teams never really did that because of injuries. So obviously, I'm not making excuses for Doc, but I do think he sometimes gets a little bit of too much hate because his superstars didn't show up.
That is true, but then, like you said, what can you do adjustments wise? It's also when you take the substitutions.
Yeah, for sure.
When you take timeouts, if you don't take timeouts, let's just say like they're playing the Cavs in the second round, and Donovan Mitchell goes on a run. Do you call it too soon? Do you call it too late? You know what I mean? There's just so many factors into that. But
again, I'm not giving excuses, but I do think people need to look at also he's lost this many game sevens. Well, look at the superstars players' stats in them game sevens. A lot of the times they're not very good.
That is true. And ultimately that leaves Celtics as the 1 seed.
Unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. I think they're the best team in the NBA right now. They're 43-12. They're 6 games above the Cavs. They play so well. I mean, they really do. I think Tatum should be getting more MVP talks than he really is. I mean, you have Drew Holiday, who's a fantastic defender. Derek White, a fantastic defender. Jaylen Brown, I'd say pretty. I don't think he's as good a defender now as he was when he first came in the league, but he's still a pretty good defender. Jason Tatum's a pretty good defender. Kristaps Porzingis has really kind of. I think they have such a defensive identity that it's brought it out of Porzingis too. You know what I mean? Now you're seeing like Knicks level Porzingis defense. You know what I mean? Like protecting the rim, that kind of stuff. They're just like the only thing I worry about with them is the bench. The bench isn't great, but come playoff time, you're shortening that rotation, and they have talent-wise the best starting 5 in the league.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a little modest here, not trying to show too much bias, obviously, right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a really good team. As a Celtics fan, and as just me personally, I don't really like being called, like the best team, the favorite to win anything.
Right.
Because as we see in the past, most times
it doesn't usually work out.
It leads to failure.
Yeah.
That's why like this whole run with them saying, "Oh, we're picking the Celtics are going to win this and that." I don't like it.
It gets a little scary. I get you.
Most times, like the best record in the league the past 5 years or X amount of years, all lost and didn't make the finals. The last team I think to do it was Golden State when they had KD.
You can look at even last year losing to the Heat. It's like, wow, nobody. You know what I mean? It can definitely be because you guys were the 1 seed last year, right? Or were you the 2 seed behind the Bucks?
2 seed because the Heat were the 8 and they played the Bucks first round.
That's right. You're completely right. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're really starting to see this team click into full gear. And I think the only way they lose is like, how do I want to word this? They're gonna lose by losing themselves the game, if that makes sense.
Shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Like, obviously, they're gonna lose games because another team gets hot. But for them to lose a 7-game series, Tatum's gonna have a bad series. Like, there's got to be like, they have to hurt themselves for them to lose a 7-game series right now. I think, especially in the East. Like, I know we said this last year, and the Heat ended up taking a run, but it's like the Bucks and the Cavs are threats to the Celtics. The Knicks, depending if they can get their guys back from injuries, can be threats to the Celtics. But it's like I'm still taking the Celtics in 6. You know what I mean? Like the Bucks might go 7, but it's like you wouldn't see them until the conference finals. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think the Celtics. I know you don't like to hear it, but I think things are just lining up really well for them.
Yeah, we said that in 2022 when they made that run in the back half of the season.
Unfortunately, they ran into a very well experienced Warriors team.
Yeah,
I think the only team, if I'm the Celtics, the only teams I don't want to see in the finals are the Nuggets and the Clippers. Those are the only 2 teams where I'm like, this is gonna be tough. You know what I mean? The Thunder are such a young team that I think the Celtics, they don't have a lot of experience in the finals, but they at least have been there. I think they would look at the Thunder as they're good, but it's like we could take them. The Timberwolves, same thing. Suns, I mean, you got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, but I just think the Celtics are a better all-around team than that.
Hey! Last time the Celtics played KD in the playoffs, we 4-0'd them. 4-0.
That's true. That's very true. But I just, I don't know. I think right now the Celtics obviously have to worry about the Bucks, Cavs, and Knicks, but in the West, it's the Clippers and the Nuggets, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this year it's kind of, unless someone goes on a run, it's down to maybe like 4 teams that can really win it all. But
one thing I do like about that is like, yeah, you said there's 4, but it's like I don't think even the Celtics are a heavy favorite, if that makes sense. Like the Celtics might be the favorite, but it's not like a foregone conclusion. Like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to be the Celtics. It's definitely going to be like, you know what I mean? Because like in years past, where it was like the Warriors and the Cavs for like 4 or 5 straight years, it's like, all right, we know what's going to happen, right? This is where it's like the top 4 seeds in each conference could make it. Yeah, some of them might not be like likely to, but they could make it. And I like that.
And we could also see a run, Cinderella run like the Heat did.
And this one's gonna be the Lakers.
Hey, maybe they get the 7 seed.
Oh no! What if we have a Lakers Celtics finals?
Ooh, that would be interesting.
This podcast is gonna be like gonna go crazy.
Be at each other's necks. That's what's gonna make us go viral.
See, I especially now that we do this podcast, like, and like my YouTube videos and stuff like that, I'm really trying to detach myself. Like, obviously, I'm a fan of the Lakers, and I always will be, but it's like trying to look at everything objectively. You know what I mean? Like, if you would ask me 3 years ago how I felt about Devin Booker, I mean, like, or Joel Embiid, like, screw that guy. But now it's like I still might not particularly like the way, like, like him, but it's like I have no problem getting on here and praising them. Where if you asked me that 5 years ago, I could not do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you might be a little bit of a biased Celtics fan, but it's like you have no problem looking. Like, I know you don't like the Heat, but you can look at Jimmy Butler and be like, yeah, man, he's a dog. You know what I mean? They beat us. Like,
he's MJ's son.
And I think that's an important step for a lot of fandom. Is like, I like my team, you like your team, but you can look back and objectively look at the league and be like, listen, I don't like you, but damn, you're good, and I can respect that.
Yeah, some people just can't do that. But there is one player that I will always, 2 players that I will never like.
Okay, I'm listening.
Devin Booker.
Okay.
And Grayson Allen.
Okay.
I'm just saying those speak for themselves. I shouldn't have to.
Devin Booker, I don't want to say he's grown on me, but like, the more I watch Devin Booker, the more he's got a really nice game. He's just very fluid, very nice to watch. So I can deal with Devin Booker now a lot more than I could years ago.
That's understandable. But Grayson Allen, he shouldn't be in the league.
I won't argue with you on that one. Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah.
Isaiah Stewart probably actually shouldn't be in the league anymore.
Yeah. All right.
That was a fantastic episode. That was our kind of what we think the standing is going to look like going into the playoffs after the second half. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, that's about it.
Well, we're going to hop off here so we can go spread some managed democracy on against the robots and some bugs. So,
Helldivers 2, democracy and freedom.
Please join the fight. We're not doing very well. We're losing the battle. Sony, please please port it to Xbox. I understand maybe not now. Your servers can't even handle the PlayStation players, so maybe wait until your servers are better until you port it to Xbox. But yeah, we need help badly.
SOS.
Yes, we're throwing SOS beacons all the time. All right, well, this has been another fantastic episode of Time Out with J&G, and Levi will not be here on Saturday, so I'm probably just gonna put out a short video on Saturday, just talking about a couple things going on in the league, just to kind of update, so we can kind of keep our schedule flowing, and then we will both be back on Wednesday. Sound good to you?
Sounds good. I'll see everybody on Wednesday.
Have a good one, guys.